actually really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming. And I can't wait for its sequel to come out that is, of course, going to be entitled Spider-Man Senior Prom. And, of course, the third movie going to be called Spider-Man Goes Off to College. It's laser time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review. I'll talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go watch the review. Yeah. Hey everybody, how's it going? I am Laser Dude, and this is another Laser Dude review. Today we're looking at Spider-Man Homecoming starring Tom Holland, Michael Keaton, and Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau, and a bunch of other side characters. So let's start with the basic story. Spider-Man is doing Spider-Man stuff, but very low-key. He's, helping petty thugs and everything, just swinging around the city. He's not doing anything really big, and he has aspirations to become a part of the Avengers. Because if you think about it, if you're a Spider-Man and you get this awesome-looking suit and you go up and you fight Captain America, and it's just like, dang, that's your first mission, and then you're helping, a guy steal a bike the very next day. You feel like you want to go up the ladder. But it kind of seems like Iron Man is blowing him off, and so he just doesn't really know what to do, until one day we get encounters with these guys who have this high technology that is being used in robberies. So he starts looking into it, and that leads him in confrontation with the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton. He was a guy that was just, trying to make a living, and he kind of gets screwed over by the government, and so now he's like, you know what, I'm going to take all the scraps and leftovers from your battles with the Avengers and whatnot, and just make weapons out of them and sell them. And so Peter Parker has to try to stop these weapons from being sold and thefts of other merchandise being gathered up and used to make more weapons. Let's start with Spider-Man himself. Tom Holland, he's really good as Spider-Man. He really gets this sort of excitement of the character, the quirkiness of the character. I like it. He has this humor, but I like that he's younger, He's not just about to graduate high school. He's 15, and he's really trying to be, a superhero. And I like the nervousness about him. Like, he doesn't feel like he's just Spider-Man right off the bat. He has his own skills and whatnot, but he's really still learning how to do this. I get scenes where, he's a little bit more afraid of what could happen if things go wrong in here. He doesn't have the full confidence yet, and he's still building that up. But he has the excitement, the energy, and the wanting to really be better and be a better superhero movie, but feeling like he's being held back. Next element we got is Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Now, I used to say that the reason they rebooted the Spider-Man universe into Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe is because Sam Raimi went up to the board of directors of Marvel or whatever and said, "Alright everybody, I know you were disappointed with Spider-Man 3, but you know what? I got a great thing for the next movie. A villain that everyone's gonna love to see, the Vulture!" Sam, you're fired. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I've said it a million times, nobody cares about the Vulture. At least not enough to want to see them as a villain in a movie. I mean, honestly, I always thought that maybe one of the reasons that the Vulture is stuck around as a villain in comics is because technically he's Spider-Man's first villain. But I have to say that Michael Keaton actually brings a lot to the character. He has a really interesting evil genius to him, and I would say he's probably Marvel's most interesting villain since Loki. Which is weird, Marvel has had a bad time with villains. And while I won't say the Vulture is super, super amazing, they made him sympathetic. They made his side not be like evil just for the sake of being evil. And they made him look like a guy who just will do whatever he wants for his own greed, and it's just he's been pushed around too far, and instead of trying to come back and do something good, he just gives up and says, "That's it, I've tried to work in the inside of the law, now I'm just going to take it on my way." His design is actually pretty good too. I like the practicality of the mask, where it looks like a mask that you would wear if you were in like a jet fighter. So it's like, okay, it's a mask to help him when he's going up through all these G's, you know. It's not just a Green Goblin type mask. It looks more practical than that. The fight scenes, I think, were really good because it felt real comic book-like in its fight scenes. Overblown, over the top, and let's just make these as silly and as intense as possible. I will say that the final fight ended in a way that I didn't necessarily like. I mean, I kind of like the idea of what they're going with for Peter's side, but I wasn't like, I'm like, that's not like the moment I was looking for. I'll get to that in the spoiler part of the review, and I don't want this review to go on too long, so let's go into a couple of my pros and cons of the thing. So, one of the cons is his friends. His friend is kind of a little annoying. They have some laughs, and yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, haha, that's fun, that's fine. Who are you? Here's the thing, when it comes down to it, I want to see the characters on the page come to life. Who is this Ned guy? The only person in this high school area that are from the comics that I can tell, we get Betty Brant, who's a reporter on the television screen, a couple scenes. We got Flash Thompson, who is really different, and now I'm kind of disappointed because I was hoping that the new Venom franchise would lead into Flash Thompson being Venom like it did in the comics, and it doesn't look like this is the way they're going for with that type of Spider-Man, but who knows, maybe it's not really part of the Marvel Universe, kind of is, kind of isn't, I don't know. And Liz Allen being the last one, which is kind of interesting because, you know, when everyone thinks of Spider-Man's girlfriends, they always think, oh, we got Gwen Stacy and we got Mary Jane. And people don't really think about Liz Allen. And I only know Liz Allen because of the Spectacular Spider-Man television series. But I like how they play, like, she's his first crush, but you can really tell, like, this is probably a relationship that's not going to go too far. I also have a problem with one of his other friends, but I don't want to get into too much details because that's getting into spoiler territory. So I'll talk about that later. But I think his friends' characters are, like, Liz Allen is fine, not that big of a character. We just know that he likes her. We don't really know anything about her besides that she's on the debate team. But I think that doesn't really bother me too much because, you know, Peter Parker and the Vulture are what the film is mostly focused on, and they're both handled really well. I think the suit plays a really good theme in the whole concept of identity. You know, Spider-Man, Peter views himself as the suit, you know, like, you know, now with the suit he can do so much more things, and his, you know, range is so much more, and they really use that whole idea of, okay, the suit doesn't make who you are, you know, you make who you are. I also like how I didn't necessarily really know exactly how this movie was gonna go. It wasn't a predictable point A to point B storyline. I was actually surprised how many locations and different fights and different places that they were able to go to without bogging the movie down and making it feel like it was rushed. I mean, there's plenty of cool moments. Like, I love the suit. I love how it's not just a suit now, that there are different options that he can go with and go through. And I'm like, yes, give me that. You know, the eyes don't just open and close for a reason. You know, he has different features on it. In terms of story, I think it handles his plot very well. I mean, there's some coincidences. I mean, Peter's first alerted to this new equipment by these guys, you know, who are robbing an ATM. And that's not a really big coincidence. This guy's selling his merchandise to criminals in the city, so this is what they're using it for, and so he comes across them. That's not a coincidence. But he comes across these guys selling weapons to this other guy. It just so happens that they're shooting it off in the same area that Peter is at that exact moment. I'm like, that's a bit of a coincidence. Plus, why were they selling it to that guy? This is just a small thing, but the guy they were selling the weapons to was just a mugger. I mean, why are they trying to sell him to a mugger? Not only does it not make any sense because you don't want to blow your person up, you want to be able to grab their wallet, but if I went up to you and went, give me your money, and you're like, what the... No. That doesn't even look like a real gun. This would not intimidate somebody to give you their money necessarily. They'd probably run away. But if I did this to you, then they'd be like, okay, yeah, here's the money. That would, I say, is one of the bigger plot holes, is like he's trying to sell these weapons to criminals, but no, that would be a horrible idea. You sell these weapons to, like, countries, you know, terrorism, that's what you would do, and maybe you approach the government and say, hey, we were able to make these weapons, It's like, to sell them to criminals, why would you need a gun that can blow up a whole building? But the thing that really makes this movie, all the slight flaws in it, up for it, is it's humor, because there's so many scenes that I laughed at in this, and they're very humorous, they're very funny, and it's not just, words, comedy, making jokes, but Spider-Man does that a lot, and it's really fun, but there's also a lot of references to other stuff. There's scenes that just are using, there's physical comedy, there's word comedy, and there's just, it's all throughout, and it's all Spider-Man. I'm like, yes, this is what I came here to see. I want a Spider-Man who can crack me up and crack wise all the time. So I think I'm going to get my rating and move on to my spoiler part of the review. So I am giving Spider-Man Homecoming a 7.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good movie. The reason I don't want to rate it higher is because while there's lots of stuff in here that I enjoy, there isn't too many things that I love. I mean, I love the suit, I love Tom Holland, and that's really it. The rest I like. I like what they do with Tony Stark in here. They don't overuse him. I like what they do with, the Vulture. I like what his friends a bit, I guess, but I don't hate them. I just don't find them as funny, even though they do have some funny scenes. Everything else is just I like. So I think it's a pretty good movie, and I would definitely recommend it to everybody, because this is a movie worth seeing, and it's I don't know where I'd rank it. It doesn't matter. Actually, I'm going to be talking with someone about what movies or what characters are portrayed the best in an upcoming video. It's going to be on somebody else's channel. I'll put you guys a link to it when it comes out. But until then, we're going on to the spoiler part of the review, so you have been warned. So, that's MJ? No. In a word, no. No Marvel. No, 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 no. Okay? Let me just tell you why in these little points here, okay? Number one, she doesn't look like her. Now, that's the smallest point. It's not a humongous point. I'm okay if you had Mary Jane, a different character, didn't make her hair so flamboyantly red. I don't care if she's, not even that white. I don't care. But it is something where it's like, when I see that, I don't say, oh, is that Mary Jane? That's not the thought that comes to mind. But you've been doing this with other things. Like, when I see that, I'm like, oh, that doesn't really speak Aunt May to me, but you're doing something different. I get it. But no, that's what. Number two, she acts nothing like Mary Jane. This character, throughout the entire movie, is having snarky, condescending humor. And it was funny. I really laughed at her scenes. I'm like, oh man, that's funny. Where she would just talk down to people, insult people, and just do all these things. I'm like, this is funny, this is humorous, and this is, I like that. This is fun. And then you say, at the end, just throw it in there, oh, my friends called me MJ. Like, no! 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 That's not MJ! MJ is not a type of snarky, in-your-face type character. Not to say that MJ isn't funny. MJ is funny, but this is what MJ's humor is like.
So, Parker, you actually got yourself a date. I mean, sure, Mary here's not the 20-year-old you wanted to bring, but at least she's non-fictional. So I guess you win the bet.
What'd you bet?
Loser dresses as a cheerleader for Halloween.
Well, big boy, I hope you've got the legs for the skirt. Come on, Tiger, let's hit the dance floor.
Not like this.
Probably stop staring before it gets creepy, though. Too late. You guys are losers.
Look, I'm not going to say that Kristen Dunst did the best with Mary Jane, but at the very least she acted in a way that you could say that looks like Mary Jane. She looks like Mary Jane. She kind of acts like her. Her writing isn't that good. The way they wrote her wasn't that good. And, she was a damsel in distress all the time. Fair. But this isn't MJ. The last thing, her name isn't even Mary Jane. What was it, Martha? It wasn't Mary. This is a big thing for me. If you're gonna put a character that we like into the movies, have the character have the same name. If you wanted to make this character Mary Jane, just make her Mary Jane. Don't try to trick us and make a reveal like this. This is a bad reveal, okay? And which is kind of a weird thing because it actually has a really good reveal. So let's talk about that. The Vulture being Liz Allen's dad, sure, the stars must have aligned for this to happen, but still, that I thought was a good twist. It added such a wrench in the thing, you know, because I'm like, okay, Peter Parker, he's decided to let, you know, Iron Man deal with the Vulture and whatnot, and so he's decided to put his life together. He asks Liz out, she goes out with him, and then he gets to her house, and boom, there is the Vulture. And I thought for a second, oh no, he's got Liz Allen, he's figured out who he is. But no, when he invites him in, and I kicked myself for not seeing it, because, you know, like, he says in the film, like, I don't want my daughter finding out about this, sort of thing. He says that, and I'm just like, I should have seen this coming, dang nabbit. Now, as I said, it's a humongous coincidence, but it's a coincidence that I like, because it leaves him with, like, kind of a choice, you know, where he's just like, do you go and do the right thing, which is going to hurt people that you care about, or do you turn a blind eye for once? Even if it's just for one night. That scene where he walks in, I'm like, is he going to leave it alone? Is he? And he just says, you know, I'm sorry, and runs off. I'm like, yeah, that's Spider-Man right there. He's going to hurt people. He's going to hurt their feelings. But it's all because he has to do the right thing. And that's why I'm like, yes, this film understands Spider-Man to a T. The only other thing that really bothered me, and this is just like, I'm like, come on, guys, don't do this to me. We got Spider-Man's friend, who, he seems like an okay guy, I guess. Not the brightest, but he's an okay guy. He's able to hack into Tony Stark's high-tech Spider-Man suit? A teenager in high school who doesn't say that he has that many, you know, he seems like he has basic hacking skills at the best. And he's able to hack into a Spider-Man suit? I mean, you could say, oh, well, you know, he's just, you know, he didn't put that much security into it because he didn't want to, because he knew Peter Parker was going to have it. That doesn't, no! Tony's not that stupid. He knows that there's a chance that somebody could come into contact with that suit and, you know, would be able to steal it or whatever. So he would have security backups and checks in there. And it's not like he finds out, oh, somebody's hacked Spider-Man's suit, I better go and see what's what. You know, he doesn't do that. He doesn't even know until after. I think that's everything I have to say. Last things I just want to say on the matter. Marvel, I know what you're trying to do. You're testing the water with this. Let me say, did not like it. So, next Spider-Man movie, have somebody else come in and be Mary Jane, okay? You could have it be this girl's cousin. She comes in and is like, oh, we always call each other MJ. I'm Martha Jane, or whatever her name was. And I'm Mary Jane, and we call each other MJ. How's it going, MJ? Not bad, MJ. You know, you make fun of it. Make us feel like we're being messed with, just like at the end of this movie in the after credits scene. Okay? Make us feel like we're being messed with. I can take a joke, but what I can't take is a Mary Jane that doesn't act like Mary Jane. That has no character similarities with her at all. And as I say, I like this character. I thought she was fun, but she's not Mary Jane. That's all I have to say. I still enjoyed the movie. I gave it a very enthusiastic thumbs up. This is definitely something you want to see if you're into superhero movies. And yeah, well, if you're in the spoiler part of this review, you've already seen it. So that's all I have to say. So adios, everybody. Bye. Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.